So this is your life to live. This is your life to love. This is your life to explore. We have not come here to play small. And I'm here to offer these teachings, the tools, and the processes. So I welcome you to 5 Keys to Awakening. It's a podcast show with your host, Dr. Rameet Singh, and celebrity host Jill Nicolini from New York Podcast.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Dr. Rameet here joining us live on the Zoom and on the podcast today. She's the owner of her own company and counseling, a doctor of counseling psychology, I should say, also holistic life coach and so much more. Would you mind introducing yourself to our listeners to start?
And today what I want to really dive deep into is the key of feminine magnetism and abundance. The power of receiving is what I'd really want to explore today with everybody.
Bring it on. Thank you. Let's talk.
So what I want to talk about today is that there is this overuse of the success and achievement model that's based on the principle of yang. And the truth is that, with this particular model, it's the more you do, the more effort and energy you put out, the more achievement you will have, the more success you will have. So, many of us operate on this yang model, and the symptom of that, if it's imbalanced and there's no yin involved with it, is the sense of burnout, chasing, stress, and anxiety. So what I want to talk about today is that, working with the yang principle of effort, action, and the doing mode, which is partially what we need for our achievements, especially as women, we're creating empires in our own ways, is you have to start to put it in the right context with the yin. And this is what we, look at the symbol of the yin and yang, where there's this harmony working together, and there's this flow of energy between the being and the doing. So that's what I want to talk about today. And just even in the Bhagavad Gita, the ancient yogic text, they talk about how there's action in action. And what does that mean? There's a mode of being where there's inaction, and from that mode of being, the surrender path, action happens. So I'm really excited to talk about that today with everybody.
Would you mind introducing yourself to our listeners?
I'm a divine feminine life coach, and what I specialize in is marrying psychology, energy healing, and divine feminine energy work and awakening work. And what I found working in my psychotherapy practice for over 12 years was that there was one really missing piece of mental health, which is working with divine feminine energy and goddess work. So as I started to bring that into my work with my clients, there was a real beautiful connection of the mind, body, heart, soul, and divine feminine energy. So this is what I really love to talk about, in my work. And I also run a 3-month program called the True Feminine Rising, which is a 3-month program where we integrate working with the 4 lower chakras and principles for feminine awakening and healing.
That's beautiful. I love hearing that. Dr. Rameet Singh joining us here if you are just tuning into the show.
The doing mode, if I describe it from a place of the psychology and the physiology, it's a mode where when we're overdoing, we have an overactive nervous system, and there is excess mental energy. And I think that we can all relate to this. We go to work, we come home, we can't sleep. Our mind is going. And, especially as the feminine, when there's so much mental energy output in our day, that does not leave room and space for us to actually go into being in embodiment. And being in embodiment, especially for the feminine energy, is so important because that's how we nourish, nurture, create, and work with intuition. So, there has been such an imbalanced way for the feminine that there is such a rise I'm seeing in a lot of mental health challenges for women, for men as well, in their own way, right? So this is really how I would describe the over yang state. Now, the yin state is really a state of being that comes from stillness, and that comes from cultivating an emotional well-being state of nourishment, feminine nourishment. And when we're in that space of nourishment, that's when we can, as feminine, drop into I would say that the center where our magic happens. And when we look at the scriptures around, the chakra theory and the energy anatomy, all portals of our chakra center, which are energy centers, are powerful, but there is a space of the womb where we can create a child life, but we also give birth to manifestation. And so in order for us to begin to tap into that deeper space of feminine magnetism, where it's our being state that's drawing in pleasure, drawing in success, rather than our doing state and chasing that's drawing in success. When we can enter that being state and then have the gifts come to us, whether it's a partner, a lover, an opportunity, that is when the feminine feels most fulfilled in her goddess energy. So, talking about what else to really share about divine feminine energy, what I want to talk about is the being state. Right, I'll talk about the being state, but let's get into the psychology and the energetics of being state, so that way, we know how we can enter the state. So there is a reason why we're in, first of all, the chasing mode, the stress mode, the overdoing mode, right? And the reason for that I want to talk to you about is that, number one, and I want everybody to just have a moment and tap into themselves and ask themselves, why does my mind live in the future so often? Why do I feel those stress and anxiety? Why do I feel like I can't relax and enjoy the present moment because I'm so occupied with something in the future? And the reason to that is twofold. The first reason is that there's a programming that we have that gets us hooked into the yang mode that has to do with the overdoing, overachiever, because if I'm not controlling my future, if I'm not constantly having my mind on it, and I'm not engaged with my thoughts of this success or this goal or that partner, then what if that goal doesn't happen? So underlying the overactive yang mode is actually a scarcity mindset and a fear-based mindset that believes that to control and to conquer is what creates success, right? So that's one of the distorted cognitive beliefs that we have. The second reason why we get hooked into the yang mode and we can't enter the yin mode has to do with primarily the fact that, if I stop focusing on that and I start focusing on me, my self-care, my spiritual self, what if that ends up leading to neglect of that thing, a failure of my goals? So there's this inherent fear that if I let go of control of that will, and I start to focus on myself, I'm neglecting something. And for a lot of people that I work with, they talk about feeling guilty. Oh, I should be doing this and I should be doing that. And I said, well, your batteries are empty. There is no fuel in you. You're disconnected from yourself and you're trying to achieve more. And basically you're not able to go as far as you can. So these are the two core belief systems, programmings that cause us to get stuck into the over achieving mode. So now, as I've just set that foundation for that, I want to talk about the being mode, the being state. So there is a spaciousness, and as I say this, I want people to just kind of feel into this. There's a spaciousness between you and that goal when we're in being mode. Goal could be the partner, the house, the project, whatever it is. And in that spaciousness, you're not controlling or managing, but rather have your attention resting in yourself. So this is what it means to be in your center while operating in the world. And in that mode, you are actually allowing and yielding to a greater operating force in life to bring you into harmony and alignment with the outside world. And that being state is where magnetism happens. And what we're yielding to and allowing to work through us in some scriptures, such as the Tao Te Ching or Lao Tzu, the ancient Chinese scripture, that talk about the Tao or the way. It's this intelligent force of nature that if we can get in harmony with, we can create great things. So I want to read just a little quote here from the Tao Te Ching to really help everybody get into that state of receptivity, in that state of yin and true power. So the quote is that the Tao is eternally without action, and yet there is nothing that it does not achieve. The Tao, the way, the intelligence. to be one with the Tao, meaning that when we are in yin mode and we're in being mode, what ends up happening is that the Tao says that the whole of creation relies on the Tao, and the Tao never refuses to support. And the Tao claims no credit for what it accomplishes. And the Tao clothes and feeds all of creation, but exerts no control. And so it's externally without desire. And in this respect, people can say, oh, it's small. And yet it has no control over anything. In this respect, people can say it's great. So this quote from the Tao Te Ching, talks about this great principle. And even when we look at the art of the Tao Te Ching and the Chinese, the beautiful art in the Chinese literature, the people are very small, like this tiny, and the landscapes are vast and huge. And that art is to show us the relationship that we have with the Tao, with the way, with nature. So just kind of coming back into this sort of explanation, we're turning back to this mode of being. When we can return back to the Tao, return back to being still, return back to the yin energy, then in that space of presence where we let go focusing on the goal, we are able to then optimally be aligned with our energy, aligned with our intuition, aligned with the feminine wisdom within our womb space. And when we're aligned and we can hear what's happening inside of us versus being preoccupied with what's happening outside of us, then we are attuned with the Tao, because the Tao is also operating us, beating our hearts. So that's what I want to tell you just a bit about, how the Tao, the way the yin shows up in even this ancient literature.
Amazing. How did you learn all of this, by the way, darling?
Yes. Well, good question. For a lot of my life felt like it was a lot of effort. And every time I would have a goal or when I accomplished something, I would be completely ungrounded. And my mind would be so consumed and so stuck in that goal and so narrow focused that I would neglect taking care of myself. And I spent years like this. I didn't realize how busy and how overactive my mind was. But all I could know and sense is that something felt really empty in me.
Wow.
And I yearned for love. I yearned for intimacy. I yearned for fulfillment. And somehow I couldn't find it until I did the inner work, and I realized that actually it's this now moment, this present moment, being fully in this moment right here and right now, where I could start to recognize that there was this operating source, there was this divine energy in this present moment, and that everything that I was pursuing, everything that I was trying to chase in the future, so much of that I was chasing because I believed that my self-concept and my self-identity and who I was that achievement, was that goal, was that outcome. So in essence, I was very narrowly defining my sense of self from these external achievements. And because of that, I was not tapped into my full nature. So as I started to let go of my attachments to deriving my sense of self-concept from these external things and started to say, let me marry myself to this present moment through the practice of meditation. What is this present moment about? It was in that moment where I started to wake up now. And waking up now was actually me beginning to recognize that who I am is nothing that I do. Who I am is this present moment. And that might sound very vague, but when you wake up to yourself as being this present moment, you recognize that you're connected to all of it. You're connected to all of it. And in that state of interconnection with all of it, it was like, and everything will be provided. There was this deep faith and deep trust in my beingness that everything I need, it's going to come. It's going to come. Because I started to recognize how life operates. I started to understand the principle of flow and creation. So for me, really, it was about learning to live life from the inside out instead of the outside in. And so living from the inside out, Jill, is the state of self-mastery.
Mm-hmm.
If I could just like leave a few things here with the listeners. So, what I want to say for the next 3 minutes is this, and I want everybody to take this away. The state of self-mastery, which we're all seeking, is to learn to live from the inside out. Living from the inside out is when we understand and recognize that whatever emotional state, frequency state, mental state that I want to feel and achieve, I'm not reliant or dependent on the outside to experience that.
Mm-hmm.
Then I go into my inner workshop, and in my inner workshop, I start to tap into the infinite field of possibility, the infinite field that is within me, my heart, my being, my mind. And I start to summon that state of being from within. And when I start to summon that state of being from within, then no matter what's happening outside of me, I'm in that frequency state. And for me, that looks like, for me, I wake up in the morning and I remind myself, I drop into my heart space. I'm here on this planet in this present moment to enjoy the present moment and to live from my heart space and to feel that love for myself, right? There's nothing that has to happen outside of me for me to get to this place of the love state for myself. So that is the state of mastery, because you're influencing the outside by what you're choosing to be on the inside. And as you choose to be what you want to be on the inside through the practice of meditation, prayer, whatever it is, then the outside starts to respond to that. The outside starts to mirror that which you are cultivating in yourself. Mm-hmm. Versus the state of powerlessness is when we are powerless and empty of that inner state. We are trying to achieve an inner state by focusing and depending upon something outside to work out for us. Mm-hmm. And when we do that, anything that happens outside in the world will completely take us on this up and down roller coaster. And that's where we have anxiety and depression and fear and all these mental challenges that come up.
Got it. Well, thank you so much. Pleasure having you back here, Dr. Rameet Singh. How can we reach you?
Yes, you can reach me on my website, which is Dr. Rameet, DRRAMEET.com.
Thank you so much. Have a fantastic weekend and a better weekend. Enjoy the holiday weekend, okay?
What keeps you limited and small? What has caged you? Break free from restrictions, access true feminine power, and live life on your own terms. If you've had the calling to go deep into your feminine awakening work, then learn about the True Feminine Rising program with Dr. Rameet, where we will integrate core belief system work, emotional processing, chakra healing, and goddess work. Embody powerful goddess energy and create life your way. To learn more, check out drrameet.com, DRRAMEET.com. Plus, the bonus masterclass and ebook on Divine Feminine Power, The Energetic Journey. The gift for today's episode is a powerful guided meditation on letting go and letting peace in. Deepest relaxation to access being state. This meditation goes through the various layers of yourself, inviting deep compassion, a letting go, and entering a state of simply being. You may access this guided meditation on the podcast page, which is Key 6, KEY number 6, drrameet.com, DRRAMEET.com. Or you may simply go to the podcast page, which is podcast, PODCAST, drrameet.com. And on this page, you will have access to 5 Keys to Awakening. Click on the podcast and go to episode 6 to access this free guided meditation.